just showed it to you. Look at that. Welcome to Dad Talk, guys. Anybody new in here? We were having a good conversation, but the devil was trying to hate. But he don't hold no weight over here with me. We're gonna be all right. Yes, sir.
All right. So I
There he
switched up
is.
locations here. Is that better?
Yeah, there you see what I'm saying?
Okay.
I'm gonna ask the question again because I want to make sure. Hey, buddy.
This is Little Bear right here, and that these are my dogs. They trying to get in the show right now.
Nice, nice. Welcome to Dad Talk, doggies.
Yeah. So
All
yeah,
right.
going back to
So,
that, the taxes, right?
hey, Chronoson, my girl. So yes. So boom. Like I said to you, or whatever, just to make sure that we know where we at with it. I was saying to the people, anybody that's new that's joining right now. First of all, this is my guy Wonderbrett right here, Brett, the brand Wonderbrett. If you're in California, you definitely should, you know, give yourself a sample. Treat yourself. That's what I'll tell you. Treat
I love the
yourself.
way you say. I love the way you say that, man. It's like
Yeah,
I swear.
I don't like to force things on people. I feel like if it's good, you're gonna find out. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Why am I gonna put a gun to your head and make you listen to my music or smoke my bud? It's good.
Hmm.
So, like I was saying to you, my question number two is that I learned from you the alcohol tax is 2-3 cents an ounce compared to marijuana tax that's 9.25 an ounce. Then at the
Yeah.
counters, 37% or whatever added is added at the sales counter or whatever. My
Yes.
question to you was that is it smarter now looking at the game to be a middleman and then start your business, or still to start from the ground up? That's my part one of the two-part question.
Yeah, so the first part of that one parter or two parter there via like the traditional market, when I was saying before, if you were just kind of working in the black market, you controlled all these things where you got your
Right.
product, you grew it, you sold it, you did all these things, you packaged it yourself. Now to do that in the rec market, in the legal market, you have to have an individual license for every one of those things, an individual location for every one of those licenses. This just adds crazy amount of cost to the production of the product where that was never there in the traditional market.
Hmm.
And then you put all those startup costs on top of those taxes, and it's a really tough landscape. Like, so I would say to anybody, if you think you're getting into this space because you're going to make a lot of money, you got the wrong idea. The only way you're going to make a lot of money in this game is if you grow an incredible amount of quantity that normally would not be when it's an incredible amount of quantity. I'm talking like, 1,000 pounds a week coming from some huge greenhouse. Um, you know, that would be how you can make money because you can grow a huge quantity and you can sell it at cheap rates and people will buy it because it's bulk and cheap and you'll make some money. But it doesn't have any fulfillment at the end of the day, like as a person for me to do that, like that would be like me going and just like starting like I don't even really drink alcohol, but like I'm gonna start a vodka company just to make money and have real no soul or passion or drive behind it, other than the fact that
Right.
it's gonna pay my bills, like, and that's not how you get the best out of things. Like when you go to your favorite restaurant, that guy in the kitchen, he's doing it because he loves to please other people, to make the best food to give somebody else. So my
Amen.
team, my team, we all kind of think that way. We're trying to give people the best experience, the best product at the best accessible price too, because that's the real key factor here is when you talk about quality and pricing, like if you had, I mean, like 37% tax, on something. I mean, it's like
That's not even a real number. Like
Yeah,
what?
I know. I don't know. I'm like, is there anything in the United States that's even taxed that high? Like, I don't even know. Like, I know that gasoline isn't taxed that high, and definitely not tobacco, and definitely not alcohol, and major industries, and actually most farming industries that are a startup, which cannabis is a startup, like just like anything else. They would be giving people subsidies, tax breaks, all these things, but we don't get any of those things. We just get kind of like sin taxed and treated like we're still criminals, but we're working in the legal market. And I know
Correct.
I said a lot of things and I didn't really answer the right question yet, but leading into the fact of how you make money, was it better to be a middleman in this market, or is it better
Yes.
to try and go from the ground up? And I think that really comes on personality. Now, if there are people that are really satisfied with trying to make $50 to $100 on flipping a pound from one farm to another brand, then you could be very satisfied with that model if that satisfies you. But for somebody who likes to grow the product and create new things and create, logos and branding and all these things that are the fun part of the aspects of the business that don't have to deal with the regulators of the cities or the state or the federal government. Those things, if you want all those things, you have to be prepared to deal with all the bullshit that comes with it and start from the bottom up. And starting from the bottom up is a few different ways to do that. Like the margins are so tight in cannabis when an eighth is being sold for $50 at a store, but it still costs 70 when you get out the door because all the taxes. You got to know that I sold that eighth to that store for $20 or maybe $23. And when you paid 70, it was marked up three times. It wasn't like it got doubled, it got tripled. And that's because of the
Correct.
stores. That's because of the stores trying to make too much money potentially, and because of the government trying to make too much money. And the government just gets their cut no matter what. Like you grow it, whether you sell it or not, you're paying that tax on it. Like that doesn't happen in any other industry. Like if you make a t-shirt, you don't get taxed for making a t-shirt. You don't get taxed before you sell it. Like you have a reseller's account where you're like, I don't pay tax on the production and manufacturing of this stuff, but we don't get tax breaks on anything. We buy nutrient, we pay full taxes. We buy equipment, we pay full taxes. Like there's no, so it really, like, I'm not trying to paint the worst, bleakest story for cannabis, because you can survive and we're an example of how you can survive.
Of course.
But it's difficult, man. It's definitely not like a very lucrative business. It's very tight margins. You have to be very smart. You have to make great decisions that don't lead to costly mistakes, because that's how you lose in this game. Is like, let's say you make $500, but then you make a decision that costs you 2,000. It's so easy to go backwards and not go forward. And
Mm.
um, this space, man, it'll throw you curveballs every step of the way. I mean, you'll deliver a product to a store that says in an email, we want it here at 3 o'clock. Please be timely. You show up on time. The guy calls you yelling at your sales guy, I'm not ready for him. You guys came too early, like we didn't set this up. And then you go back and look at the email. It's exactly Wednesday, 3 o'clock. You know what I mean? And
All
you're just
right.
dealing with tons of personalities. And then you're like, am I even growing weed anymore? Am I just now somebody who just manages personalities all over the place?
All right. You're like the
So
Italian mob. It's a bunch of Italian mob situations going on here.
yeah, and it's all broken down and it's super chaotic. And if someone wants to get into this, I say, like the way to get in from the ground up is either you have to have your own store and then have the idea of having your own store that would eventually have its own grow,
Mm.
or vice versa, have your own grow and start a brand and then transition that brand into having its own store at some point, so that you can enjoy some of the luxuries of having a vertical of and controlling a situation from the growth of it all the way to the delivery of the end user. Like for me, I really want Wonderbrett, and same thing with my team. When I say for me, um, everybody on my team, we want people to have a great experience when they buy our product. We want them to feel like it was money well spent, that it was it lived up to what their expectations were. And if we can do that for many more years to come, then like I'll be satisfied. But
Amen.
everything else is really like, you're just dealing with headaches all over the place.
Okay. Question on you, brother. Question on you. You answered both of mine in your statement, so I don't have to ask my second part.
All right. So I have a question now.
Yeah, question on you. Yeah.
I'm a little slow, as you can
Hey, it's all
tell.
right. Don't worry about that. I was already prepared. It's good. It's good. Don't worry.
So, I seen you recently at that fashion show in Long Beach, like about a year ago. You were
Complex
like the
con.
Complex Con, right?
Yes.
And that was a crazy dope event. Uh, I'm gonna ask you a question that would pertain to, I guess, to helping me.
Okay.
So, knowing that what Complex Con, and I was so new to that, I was like my first time ever being there and seeing all these brands that are doing all this crazy stuff like that. How would you think that someone like myself coming from the cannabis space would introduce myself into that space and have it be perceived properly, organically, and not feel like we're trying to step into something that we don't belong into?
Well, your biggest.
Or should
I
I
hate
be
to
there?
start off on a.
Do I even belong there? Should I not be there?
I always think. I mean, at the end of the day, marijuana, music, fashion, all ties in hand. They're all
Yeah,
cousins. They're
yeah,
all
one
cousins.
big
So you definitely
cultural.
belong.
Yeah.
It's just that you're
Okay.
the cousin whose big cousin, which is the government, does
Mm.
not want you to be a part of our thing.
No, they're like they won't
So,
let us be at Complex Con last year. Maybe this year though. Maybe if there is one this year. You know.
well, yeah, I
Mm,
mean, if we do have
mm,
one, I mean, that would be God level magic that has to be pulled off. You know, and who knows? You know, the second half of the year might show us something that we never was expecting because we definitely wasn't expecting this first half of the year. You know
no
what I'm
doubt.
saying?
No doubt. I thought 2020 was everybody was
Cool.
talking in the beginning of this is the year of vision, 2020 vision and
Yeah, right. I literally
like no
kept
one
saying that to myself. I'm supposed to be traveling and Africa,
mm,
this and da 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 da. When I even started off in January, I went to Fashion Week in Paris for the first time in January.
mhm,
I had it all marked down. Boom, 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 boom.
mm,
You wish, you know. But to answer your question, um, I definitely believe that you guys belong. I definitely know that you guys can't do nothing but make the game even cooler because of the simple fact that, like I said, we're family.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Sneaker, marijuana, music, fashion, it's all culture. It's all family. It all has ties to it. The same kids that come through that complex con and buy up everything and stand in line for this is the same kids that go to the dispensary and buy Wonderbrett products.
Mm, mhm,
It's the same kid, same adult, because it's adults and kids there, obviously.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The same exact people that shop with us shop with you. But it's a man that's standing in the middle, like you guys can't play together.
Yeah, they don't want us there. They made that pretty
You
clear.
know?
Like, but we could probably be there with just, like as long as we leave all the weed out of it, we could probably be there
Yeah,
on some clothes.
and see the thing about it is that when you hear weed, you want weed. You see what I'm saying? And once again, like I told you earlier with the other thing with the Chads and Brads, in that particular situation, it's not about focusing on not what is not what not to focus on what is not working, but to
Hmm.
focus on how do we beat that? How do we make
Hmm.
the experience feels that damn, I want to leave here and go buy Wonderbrett weed products because I got the what is almost kind of like what is the other experience outside of smoking weed that makes weed
Hmm.
cool? You know what I'm saying? It's like if you could show me, if you could build a miniature setup of your setup or whatever, of like, like how does how do you guys make weed? Like how do you guys do these
Yeah,
things? Like show us the process. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like come from an educational standpoint per se. You know what I'm saying? Like come from using CBD products or whatever because they all can look the same or whatever to
yeah.
show you the experience. You know what I'm saying? Give people that knowledge because people are scared of marijuana still. It's legal
Mm,
as a bitch. In California, it's people that don't like marijuana. They have a problem with it.
yeah.
It might be the
Stigma.
weirdest shit ever, but
It's so
It's just the
true.
truth. And you know, I listened to one of your talks that you were doing, and I might be jumping off the edge with this one, and somebody might flame me, but that's cool. I could take that. The way that marijuana is treated, it feels like black people. It feels like slavery. It feels like your past is affecting your current. It feels like what the hell is like, what are we talking about here? It's like it has the same negative connotations or
Yeah,
whatever of like my old sins are is what I'm dealing with here. And we changed the law. Why did we change the law if we can't change the mindset?
I
You know
know
what I'm
it's so
saying?
cra It's something that I try to like push as well because I, I can kind of relate to that in a certain way, but it's really hard not being black. To
Yeah, yeah.
you
It's
know
like
what I mean?
slavery. I'm
Like,
sorry, slavery. Remember,
yeah,
it's like a like that slavery mentality or racism. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like that mentality where it's like this, you know, this is something that, you know, it stems back 400, 500 years. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Probably a little bit longer than marijuana or who knows or whatever. But it's kind of like that negative connotation or whatever that comes along with it. It's still there. Even though people have rights now, it still
hmm
don't feel like you have all your rights. Just because you're legal now, it still don't feel like you're legal.
yeah. We don't get treated that way. I mean, like when these inspectors come to our facility, they walk through with bulletproof vests, guns. They act like they're gonna find us like walking through these facilities doing crazy shit. Like. But realistically, we're trying to follow like the letter of the law on everything every single day so that we could have the right and the ability to still be there in the future and not ruin it for everybody. And it's definitely this weird dichotomy of like illegal, now you're essential. Um, it's, and
Like
uh,
what?
and I still, every time I see a cop, even like 100 yards behind me, I'm like, I'm not riding dirty, but like I still feel like,
Feel
oh
dirty.
wait, yeah, it still feels like I'm about to get hassled or something. And I feel like one of the only things we can do to change this in the mindsets up here is the cultural shift because they made the laws change, but the only way things really change is when culture changes it, when everybody starts acting a certain way and feeling a certain way and defending in a certain way that it becomes normalized and things actually change. Like I think I've used this example before in another conversation where it was like, look at people that were vegan 20 years ago, they were like scoffed at, they were laughed at, they were like, what's wrong with you? You don't eat meat, you're like, and now you can't even go into a place that doesn't have a whole vegetarian section of the menu, or the whole restaurant is vegan and vegetarian. So it
Exactly.
took a cultural change of people going, I'm going to say that this is good and we're going to talk about it until you're blue in the face, until people start listening and going, yeah, you know what, I think that is the way it should be. And despite what anybody wrote in some piece of paper, shit just doesn't change that fast overnight. And all those little scars that they leave in our brain from our memories of past, of history, of how we got treated, and how we, might still be getting treated, it still doesn't really help speed up that process. I mean, it's a
No,
weird,
you're right.
it's a weird
You're right.
dichotomy. It's like a weird dichotomy of like feeling like you should be celebrated, but also at the same time you feel like you're kind of scared because you're doing well. You're like, what's this mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I love that you said the whole thing of going from illegal to essential. You know what I'm saying? Like that is the craziest. It's like it's almost like right
Surreal.
now it's amazing to do what you do because you guys are considered essential. So you guys could have stayed open. So it's like that played in my favor. Finally, something plays in my favor for a change.
Seriously, seriously. Like every time I feel like, you know, um, something's really going good, like there's somebody pulls out the rug from underneath you, in one way or another, whether it was, like an opportunity or just a person who started to hate on you, or you were on a good rhythm and then like somebody in your family dies and it completely changes your mindset, or like the pandemic, or like just all these things that life is it's a crazy trip right now. Life, you thought for a minute you could kind of predict things and you thought things were kind of like predictable, but at the moment they're not very predictable. And I think the only thing we can really count on is like, you know, experiences and good friends that make you feel comforted when you talk to them. Because honestly, this conversation is therapeutic to me right now, you know? So
Love. I mean, that's the whole point, man. Safe place for creators, man. For sure.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me on here and doing this, man. It's really
No,
cool.
love. So my last question for you is that, and you know, it ties into what we've been talking about the whole time. And also your question, like I said, we finding the other side of marijuana. That's how we get weed into complex kind. Finding that
Yeah.
other side that doesn't include the actual product, that makes it interesting, still fun. You know what I'm saying? Like you partnering with the companies that are already selling merch there, selling clothing. You doing
hmm
clothing collabs with them brings you in the building.
I need that. See, I keep thinking I got to come up with something cool to bring. Maybe I just
Mm-mm.
need you to introduce me to somebody who to collaborate with.
Find the people that want to understand your world, and
Yeah.
then you understand their world. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? There's always sometimes about who you walk in with compared to walking in.
Totally.
You know how that works. You know how that works. You know how that works. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, um, oh yes. All right. My last question to you is this: legal cannabis gets bullied by the government, and the black market is always looking over their shoulder, right? We established that. My
Yes.
question is, if this continues, what could go wrong in the future when it comes to the cannabis industry?
What you could see is all the diversification of like small farms. This is already happening. This is in motion right now, this very moment. Small farms are being driven out of this space that are the ones that actually like developed this whole cultural space for us. Like they took all the risks. These small farmers like myself, like across California and across the country, they were taking huge risks, going to jail, losing their farms, losing their properties, losing their
Multiple
houses.
times.
Yeah, repeatedly. And then we go and we make it legal, right? Then we say, okay, you want to be legal? You got to do it like this. You got to do it with all this infrastructure, all this extra money. You got to have all these things to make it work. And realistically, the people that are good at growing weed don't have those business skill sets. And what's happening is they're getting driven out of the market space by the Brads and Chads and the big corporate money that can just grow like 1,000 pounds of boof every month and put it out. Um, So you're losing that.
Yeah.
And what it's really doing is it's restarting a whole nother like phase two of the war on drugs because you legalized it to keep all these people out of jail from all this bullshit and all this frivolous nonsense with marijuana so that we can make a legal market that would be safe and regulated for the public, right? But you make taxes so high when you make it legal that it puts everybody who tried to get into this space pretty much out of business, which is, I mean, this is big business now. Like, this is the plan. Like, Marlboro, big pharmaceutical companies, big beverage companies, Coca-Cola,
Right.
Pepsi, you name it. They all have major contracts to make CBD drinks. They want to see all of us take all our mom and pop money and build this infrastructure, and then they'll make it so hard to survive with all these taxes that they just come in and swoop it up, and then magically taxes and all this shit will be cut by 50% because of all their lobbyist money that we can't play with, that they have all those ties that they've already developed. And then all those mom and pop small farmers that borrowed money, raised money, got investors, go out of business. And what do they go do to survive? They go back to the black market where all the tax money that is that 37% tax and that $9.25 tax on an ounce is being used to come back and now hunt them back down and put them in jail because it's legal. It's this weird, like ironic, sick joke that they're playing on hardworking people. to say like, here's a chance to survive. Go ahead, put everything you got into it. Put your name on this. Put your social security number. Put your address on this. And when it all goes bad, because we made it so hard for you, we're gonna come get you. It's sick.
Wow. Wow.
It's sick, man. The only way to win is to not go back to the black.
Basically, everybody would lose what they got. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
The
Continue.
only way to beat them at this game is to not go back to being a black market grower. Be a brand and do everything you can to keep it legal and keep it going that way until these guys, you either break their back or they break your back. You know what I
Hmm.
This money game when everyone else like us is still scraping 2 pennies together or 2 nickels to try and make $1 and make something happen and be hustlers. And that's how we got here. And that's why like we're successful as a group in my group of friends, because we all have that mentality. None of us have been rich guys. None of us have, these fancy houses. I mean, I live in a very modest house here in the San Fernando Valley. As much information I want to give about my personal, but I'm not some baller. Like I'm not out here, on jets and gold chains and all that stuff. That stuff's not in the cannabis, space, and nor is it in my personality. If I did have the money to spend on that kind of stuff, I wouldn't spend on that either. But if you want to win, get yourself a good strain, learn how to grow properly, produce enough with a low overhead where you can still make a profit. There are companies out here that are like running for 3 years straight, like losing millions of dollars a year that haven't turned $1 profit. If you can make $100,000 in this space right now profit off of a much smaller overhead, you're more valuable than that big ass company out there. You're more valuable than MedMen, who's losing $5 million a year right now, or a month, or whatever they're losing. And you know what I mean? Like you're more valuable than, because you're actually making a profit, and like these guys have some delusional Amazon model that they think that they can just lose and eventually turn a profit and it turns around. But that's not how this game works. There's too many competitors. It's not the end of the road, it's the beginning. Amazon only wins because it's the end of the road, because all those big box stores have already played themselves out, and these guys are like just sharpening their teeth over at Amazon going, oh yeah, I see all the mistakes, I can beat him here all day. This shit's too new for that.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Dad talk.
I appreciate that, man. Mom and pops, even to take it into my world of like fashion, I see the mom and pops going out of business. I see Barney's and a lot of the places that I like to shop at, they're going out of business. Like when Barney's Co-op went out of business, I was like, oh my God, Barney's is going out of business? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like certain key shops that I've shopped at since I got into the game or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like going out of business because, well, now people like to shop online for clothes and essence.com and things like that of the sort, you know what I'm saying? StockX and things like that. All the mom and pops and all the resale guys or whatever, they're like really feeling it. And
they get too comfortable though. They get too comfortable in those places, thinking that nothing's out there coming on their heels, and that's why they get hurt. And that small guy has got to hustle and scrap, and that's why they beat him.
David and Goliath story type of situation.
I'll bet on David. I always bet on the underdog. I like to root for the underdog. I mean,
Amen.
It's like, who the hell wants to watch somebody who just, school everybody year after year like there ain't no competition?
Correct. Especially, I think it more affects you when when they don't show no respect to these people. If they were showing some respect and still killing it, like a big company, big corporation gonna kill it because they're operating in a higher parameter. You know what I'm saying? If you grind it all the way up and Wonderbrett is a Fortune 500 company,
Hmm.
I can't be mad at you, you know what I'm saying? But I could be mad at or turn my, like, be a little perturbed when you don't have no love for the little man.
Hmm.
Because you wouldn't have,
Hmm.
in your case per se, if you did, you know, a Fortune 500 company, you know what it is to be the little man. So how could you shit on the little man if you know what it is to be the little man?
Yeah, you know, it's a
So,
weird thing because people think that like we make a lot of money. People think that, you know, that I'm balling or something, and it's not like that. It's just so crazy. Like I truly don't ever want to get away from the feeling that I have right now of like working as the little man and being the underdog and having to fight for it because like it feels like it would be like, you know how when you beat a video game, you're like, what's next? You're like, there's nothing to fight for. You're like the journey of playing the game all the way and is more fun than actually like watching the credits roll and says that you're a champion or some shit. Like then it's, you know, I'm real goal oriented, so I really like to to push towards that kind of stuff. And it's like I don't know. It's part of I don't know. Our whole Team Wonderbrett thing here is like we really want to build a big team. We want to build like, you know, the 100 employees we have. We want those employees to turn into our first year freshman class of like Wonderbrett University, where these guys are learning the skills and trades that like took years and years and years to accumulate and teach them in a fast paced fashion where they learn it in 2 or 3 years and then they could fan out across the country and spread this knowledge and lift up and enlighten people around them too. Like take what you have and build a team of 5 or 6 people underneath you and lift all those people up. And then all those people underneath you become the core team and they lift a bunch of other people up. It's like that's my dream in life is to see like this perpetual knowledge of helping people and like lifting people up and like making the world better place because you know, I'm sure you came from a place in Trinidad that wasn't so great in certain times, and it's all perspective. Like I feel like I've been through some hard shit in life too that wasn't so perfect, and it made me who I am now. But do I want to see that cycle repeat for everybody? Does everybody have to go through that suffrage to find out, you know, who they are or what they are? I don't know. I hope not. You know,
right.
I hope that people don't have to suffer to through everything in life just to feel what it feels like to win once.
Mm. Amen to that. Amen to that. I hope you don't have to go through all this suffering just to win once.
Yeah, man, it's fuck, dude. Life's hard. Let's find a way to make this better.
So, brother, your last question for me.
Okay, shit. Man, this has been such an enlightening conversation. But what do you think for like, you know, I guess I'm gonna ask you to be a fortune teller now.
Okay.
Um, what do you think the landscape is gonna be like in 18 months? You know, 12 months, like for music and the culture, and if it's continuing to be like how we're surviving now through the digital format, like, you know, like where do you think the innovations will come from, and where do you think the what it'll look like? What is it going to look like when I see you next time?
Well, I think that we're all paying attention to each other because we're all kind of in a similar situation where everybody's working through Zoom and working through IG Live and working through these different type of mediums. You know, I think I think that I'll let you handle your business right quick. All right. I think that the video platforms are going to become the new streaming service. And I feel that the people that are good with visuals and learning to adapt to it, I think that they will be the ones that are able to prosper when we feel safe to come outside again.
Let me ask you this now: if they
Go
drop
ahead.
the order, if they drop the order and say, "Hey, it's safe to go outside right now," like, yeah, we know people are still getting sick. Just keep, you know, we're opening everything up because of the economy and stuff like that. What are you gonna do? You gonna go back out and act like normal, or are you gonna keep a 6 foot distance and keep play it safe for a few months?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna always play it safe. I think it's set in my mind, period, right now, to just play it safe. That's why I said to you, when we feel it's good to come back outside.
Yeah, yeah,
They're gonna say whatever they say because they're talking to you from a different perspective. You see what I'm
yeah,
saying? It's always easy to tell sheep what to do if you're the shepherd if you think you're the shepherd. You
yeah,
know what I'm
yeah.
saying? That's why I said it's
No,
up to you, you know, of like, when do you feel is good for you? If you know your health situation, if you know what you got going on, then you need to make sure that you act accordingly because what's best for you. Because when
yeah,
you're in the hospital, ain't nobody going to give you a pass. Ain't nobody going, the government not going to pay your bills. The same government that's telling you to go out there and go get you some money, they're telling you that because they're not going to pay your bills. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? They're only going to give you a stimulus check so many times.
yeah. It's crazy, man. It's so crazy. What do
You
you
know,
think this is going to do the culture of music, of fashion, of cannabis? How do you see this impacting like the culture?
well, I think that it affects certain people. It affects everybody's money, definitely, right? They're saying to a certain extent that touring won't start back till fall of 2021. You know what
Ooh,
I'm saying? That's far. That's super
that
far.
is far.
You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, these visual platforms will become like everybody will turn into the gorillas. Like you, like
Mm,
the, like you know, what I'm saying Wonderbrett is the gorillas. Like how you said, like everybody was like you guys was doing something, and life kind of came back around into your world or whatever.
uh-huh.
Like the gorillas have always been
The
somebody you but you never
gorillas.
seen physically,
Mm,
but have been visually killing it, successful, blah 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 blah, or whatever. I feel that that is going to
hmm
be the case, or whatever, with more artists and the industry just in general or whatever. People will find ways to be creative because music will always matter. It
hmm
will always matter. You know what I'm saying? But you know, animation is going to get cheaper. You know, you're going to have some people that raise up the price because they
Yep.
can, and you're going to have some people who's like, man, I got to eat. You know what I'm saying? Like, forget that or whatever. Like, to see the market for what it is. Some people will treat it like the government and raise it 37%. And then some people will be like, nah, bro, I'm going to do
Ooh,
it for the right price or whatever because I want to be able to keep this going because
yeah.
everybody can't afford to pay the 37%.
Mm-mm.
You
No.
know what I'm saying? So that's what I say. I said that people will adjust. Some people will fail. You know what I'm saying? Some people will lose or whatever, you know,
Yeah. Mm,
but that would happen anyway, even if we weren't in this pandemic.
true.
Yeah,
That's
these nothing. Only
facts.
thing changes is the method. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if people, in order for somebody to win, somebody has to lose, or whatever. So people lose every day. People win every day. You know,
hmm
it just kind of the cycle of life doesn't change. It's just kind of like what type of wheel the cycle is spinning on.
Exactly. I love that, man. That's so positive. I mean, people need to hear that right now. People can't get that positive enough right now. I think they turn the TV on and it's just negative fear tactics. You know, maybe not fear tactics, but we should be fearful in a certain way. This is
Yeah,
a deadly
you can
disease that
die.
people are dying. Yeah,
Yeah,
this is a
like
deadly disease.
it's scary, you know. And this is the difference between this and everything else because the news is always just delivering negative, delivering. You know, it's
Yeah,
just
that's how they keep you glued to the TV is by keeping you
exactly.
scared
You
somehow.
know, the difference in this particular situation is that this problem has no cure. When you see
Yeah.
somebody get murdered or robbed on the news or whatever, well, we know that like, oh, the police didn't get there in time, or wrong place at the wrong time, or this, that, and the other. This particular situation with the COVID-19, there's no cure for it. It's an invisible war. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yep.
nurses have become the new soldiers.
Yeah. The front line is the hospital.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's different. And so until the government is ready to release a cure or they feel that they can make money off of a vaccine that actually works or whatever, then
hmm
we're going to have to be very cautious of how we move. Regardless, you know what I'm saying? I feel like shaking people's hands is going to be weird. You know what I'm saying? For a year or two.
I'm
You
not
know what I'm
doing
saying? It's
that.
going to be
I'm
a
not
lot of
doing
just
that.
like, what's up, bro? And
Yeah.
new respects will be made. New
hmm
different versions of respect will be made. You know,
I
and
agree. I agree with that. I think that there does need to be some sort of like new way to pay homage and show respect when you see somebody that's not the handshake, that's not the fist bump, it's not the elbow bump either, or the foot bump, because you really just, to play it safe, you really shouldn't be touching people in any way. You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna do elbow bumps, then you better be doing spraying sanitizer on your elbow. Then
yeah,
you know what I mean? Because they're telling everybody to cough in their arm like this. They say cough in your arm. Now you're coughing right where you're telling to
yeah,
bump.
it's
It's
weird, you
crazy.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know. So, like I said, like different boundaries of respect that will be altered.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of little things that will be altered that kind of mean major things because, like, if prior to this pandemic, if you walked into a room and you didn't shake certain people's hand, they'll be offended, and that could ruin the
Yeah.
whole business deal. But now,
Totally.
after the pandemic or whatever, everybody kind of understands, like, hey, how y'all doing? And no hands have to be shook.
Yeah.
And if you do shake somebody's hand, this has to be something serious.
Yeah. It's like I'm trying to think of now ways like, in person you can, when you're in, so you can kind of push that energy and you can show love in a way that people are, they can feel it in your voice and your emotion, and they know that it's genuine and it's coming from somewhere. And nowadays it's like, how do we reach out and share that feeling with more people when you can't even come in contact with them? Like, I'm trying to think of ways that like how do I send something to somebody's house where they could get that feeling of like we care, and you matter to, and everybody matters. Like, I just, I don't know, maybe I'm a sappy guy or something, but like I just kind
No,
of
you good.
I just want, I want people around me to feel good, and I want that love to be shared. Like, they need it, and I say that for them too, just as much as I need it for myself.
Right.
Like, so maybe I might be
It
speaking
starts
for
with you.
myself.
It starts with the
Yeah,
home. You know, if your love is genuine, then you don't have to shake my hand for me to know that. Your character will beseech you. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Your character, you know, speaks for itself. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're talking
mm,
to each other, we can't touch each other or whatever, but it's things that you said, I feel it. It's things that I've said, you feel it. I strike a
yeah,
chord. It's like when you're looking at a movie and you cry because of the movie. They did their
yeah,
job. So
yeah.
if you do your job,
They have
people will
violin
feel.
strings.
Pull those strings without having to touch those
Yeah,
strings. You know what I'm saying? Like, or whatever, you know, it's one of those type of things where it's like your character needs to be even more intact. It also works in the fact of you'll know who's fake and who's not. Because somebody could shake your hand and hate you.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
have it out for you. You know what I'm saying? So it's like if you don't feel nothing there from a conversation with somebody, it doesn't mean that necessarily they have it out for you, but you kind of know better where you stand. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, in order for you to be truly happy, you know what I'm saying, you got to make sure that, like everybody always says, you got to be truly happy with yourself so that that allows your radar to know when people are being genuine with you, to have
mm,
a probability. I always say to people, like, I look at life through probability. I'm not going to get 10 out of 10. I'm not.
yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? But if I can go through the week and get 7 out of 10 or above half, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to roll with that. I'm going to
yeah,
roll with that. And if I get 10 out of 10 one week, thank God.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? It
yeah,
is what it is or whatever. But I'm going for the highest probability possible, you know, that I can get. And, you know, and making sure that if I'm being true to myself and I'm talking to you, I care. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have to
mm,
be trying to be your best friend or whatever because
yeah,
who your friends are already made. Everybody else is just good people that you can meet in your life.
yeah. I agree, man. It's like, that's the thing, is I come across a lot of people. I come across a lot of, artists in the studios. I've met so many people that it is a unique thing, when you come across somebody who really gives you a feeling of a genuine heart, you know what I mean, like that. Um, Damn, man, it's a good thing that that I met you. You know what I mean? I feel like I've learned a lot. I feel like I've learned a lot. Just like how to be comfortable with some of these experiments, but to not really give a fuck too, and be like, be who you are. Because I'm like, when I look at the stuff that you've done, and then like, and how you present yourself, I'm like, you really, you know, you picked your lane in a way that's so different. And it's like, I respect that so much, because that isn't easy to do. And, you know, everybody is like, I'm sure, like, why don't you be more like Drake or Uzi or somebody? You know what I mean? Everybody always wants you to be somebody else when they talk to you. You're like, but they don't realize that this is why they actually are talking to you, because you are so different. You know, like, it is so dope to meet
Correct.
somebody that views the world in this way. And I, like I say, man, this whole thing is the whole dad talk thing. It's a comfortable space, but dude, it's underrated, bro. I feel so comforted right now, honestly, to have this conversation and be like, okay, it's been too long since I've had a real conversation with somebody, you know, about all these things. You know, like, I talk to my close friends and stuff like that, but like, you know, we all are too like-minded to really think outside of the box that we're in. It's like I can almost read my partner's mind. He can read my mind. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
that's life.
here, yeah, here I'm like, oh shit, I'm getting enlightened by this conversation. You know what I mean? Like, you're enlightening me, and maybe I'm enlightening some of you and some other people too. But it feels good just to be like a social being right now. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah, like I mean, like I said, once again, Dad Talk is that safe place for creatives, and you
Mhm.
know, a creative, it has so many different meanings. Like, you know, this is my
Mhm.
episode 8, if I'm not mistaken now, and you know,
Mhm.
I've talked to 8 kind of like different type of people. You
Yeah,
know what I'm saying? It's because everybody is their own type of creative. You get what I'm saying? But you're a leader in your own way, you know, and you just need to be reminded of that, what comes with being a leader, a creative leader. You
yeah,
know what I'm saying? It's like the business is what most of my buddies, they focus on, because we have to focus on the business. I got to focus on my own. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Bills don't
But
pay themselves, man. They just don't, dude.
exactly, exactly, exactly.
Ah.
You know, but this right here allows us to remind each other of the other side of business, is to make sure that you're sane, your
Yeah,
sanity. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? With sanity, you can conquer anything or
yeah.
whatever.
No,
You know what I'm saying? So, my brother, I appreciate your time, man. We went over, but I think it was worth it. I hope people understood where we were coming from. I hope they appreciated your words. I definitely
yeah,
appreciated them. And I can't wait to be in LA and we link up, brother.
yeah. Likewise, man. Thank you so much for having me on, dude. It was great to talk with you.
Bless, brother. Be good.
Yep. Be good, man.
Guys, that's another episode of Dad Talk. We went kind of long today, but it was good talk, man. Like I said, I really wanted you guys to understand